Woo-wee, good morning. We have almost made it to the weekend. There is Tana. She said, I caught a live. Thank goodness. My goodness. Mary Fletcher, what is going on here? She said, hey, Brooks, please give me the Idiot of the Week award. Well, tell me what you did. Tell me about yourself. A lot broke through in this case yesterday. I apologize if I missed anybody in the pre-parte, but you know I love you. I see Preschool Granny, Alicia Drummond. How are you? Tina Baker. Angela. Hey, Brooks. Hey, Angela. Whew. But we are live every morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. If you don't get the reminder, well, you can just set a reminder on your phone. Thank you for all you do, Dawn. Grandma of 3. You got your hands full. So how was everyone's evening? We had some thunderstorms came through. I'm an Okie, all right? So storms like that don't keep me awake. They don't disrupt my sleep, but they do upset OJ. As you know, he is our tragedy pimp. There he is on the screen, all decked out in his fedora and his chains. Well, he got a hair up his ass and was scratching at the refrigerator. Well, I was telling DT Driver this morning, I said, well, I don't want him scratching at the refrigerator. I don't want cat scratches on the refrigerator. You know, it's stainless steel. And DT Driver's like, well, what did you do? Did you tell him to quit his shit? That's how DT Driver talks. And I said, no. I said, I got into the freezer and I got some chicken nuggets out. And so I made him some chicken nuggets so he had a snack. He goes, so you basically rewarded him scratching up the fridge by giving him chicken nuggets? So I guess maybe I should be the Idiot of the Week. What do you think? But that's what he likes. Oh, he's got scratching posts, Susie Sue. They're called DT Driver, myself, the recliner, the couch, the bed. You get him a scratching post, he looks at us like, what are you going to do with it? Sit on it? I'm not using that. But he loves his chicken nuggets. I can tell you who is not the Idiot of the Week. That's our friend True Crime Beat. Not only is she super snazzy, super smart, has a great channel of her own, she's a great friend, but today is her birthday. So sing it loud and sing it proud. Happy birthday to you, my dear friend Shannon. Absolutely adore you, my friend, and so happy that you're here on the show to spend your birthday with us. Now, and I mean a lot, we called it, did we not? We said there's going to be more arrests. It wasn't too hard to figure out. This is not my detective work. The probable cause affidavit talked about Paul Grice a lot. Now, first I'm going to put this up. This was tweeted back in July of 2023. It's now gotten over 49 million views. Has a circle to the Oklahoma Panhandle, and it said, what goes on here? Well, that aged well, didn't it? Because a lot, obviously, is going on in Cimarron County and Texas County. And the 5th arrest was made yesterday. Paul Grice, 31 years old. 31 years old. He's probably going to get the death penalty. At this point, I think all 5 of them are going to get the DP. They're headed to Big Mac. Actually, they said on our local news this morning they're expanding McAllister Prison. because so many people get the death penalty. He's got little kids. He's got a wife. What do we know about Paul? Well, he's part of the God's misfits, even though their leader is saying that they don't get down like that. We know that in Colorado, he tried to claim sovereignty. He claimed that his wife and children were his property. We know he's very involved with Panhandle Granny, her boyfriend, and the Twombleys. Here's a snippet of some of the things that he filed. Got to get my spectacles on. I claim my children born December 27th, 2012, November 10th, 2017, July 24th, 2021, as my God-given property and subject to none other. There is a maxim law that says what one creates, one controls. The government did not create my children and therefore does not control my children. God created my children in their mother's womb with my sperm. I want to think about that one. Ooh, God. Think about old chubby Paul pumping on you to get some God-given property. Ugh. Sex Ed 101. All right, God created my children in their mother's womb with my sperm and are my creation. They are my property. And I waive none of my God-given rights or duties in the upbringings of my offspring. Woo. Okay. Try that with the IRS. Some of my reasons for repudiating the citizenship status are defined in the following articles, and by the totality of this document are made a part hereof. I have lived a productive and eventful life. Oh, you damn sure have. Now in anticipation of the end and God's mercy and grace. Undoubtedly, the singularity most horrific moment of that life was the conviction to basically take away my citizenship of the United States. All right, this document goes on and on and on. He says, this shall serve. Now, he gave this to people in Colorado. This shall serve as a notice to certify that I, a living soul, so called by my father and mother, since born Paul Jeremiah of the genealogy of Grice, was born on the 2nd of July, 1992, in the Sovereign Republic of Colorado. I have never heard Colorado called a sovereign republic, but hey, whatever. He said, I am not a sovereign citizen. I am not a resident, employee, or citizen of the United States government. And he put in parentheses, corporation. He's saying that the government is a corporation. I have another word for it, but YouTube wouldn't like it. Whose situs is Washington, the District of Columbia. My relationship to that federal entity as far as jurisdiction is that of a non-resident alien to the corporate United States government, also known as an American state national or lawful bloodline American. I am a free and natural man described by the Lord in Genesis 2:7 as a living soul living under God's law and his grace alone. I have assumed among the powers of the earth granted by the Lord God Almighty the separate and equal station to which the law of nature and nature's God entitle me. All right, so Paul's crazy, okay? He's going to get a lot. He's going to get a lot of new government friends. He's going to understand unity once he gets in the jail. Woo! I love the whole womb and sperm talk, though. Got to be kidding me. Well, he understood the government yesterday, because let me show you what happened. They rolled up on old Chubby Paul with a quickness.
Good afternoon. I'm Julia Thatcher.
We begin with breaking news this afternoon.
A fifth person is arrested on suspicion of murder in connection to the deaths of Butler and Kelley and Veronica Butler. According to court documents, Paul Grice is also facing suspicion of kidnapping and conspiracy to commit murder. Documents say a family member of Cora Twombly, one of the 4 people already arrested in the case, named Grice as one of the people involved in the deaths of Jillian and Veronica. I asked the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation back on April 15th why they did not arrest Paul Grice with the other 4 suspects. I was told, quote, there are no other suspects at this time. I asked today what is behind the delay in arresting Paul Grice and did not receive an answer. KSN does not typically name suspects until...
He's really no longer a suspect. He's been charged. Now then, Mr. Sovereign Citizen, Mr. I only live by God's grace, understood the wrath of God yesterday, because when they interrogated him several weeks ago, they wound up letting him go. Why? I don't know. Above my pay grade. Well, Babyface here, he took off. He couldn't be found. And since he just lives by the law of God, he understood God's law yesterday, because part of God's law is thou shalt not kill. You don't get to kill people. You can protect yourself. You can protect your land. You can protect your children. You can protect your country. But for your own selfish reasons, you can't just go around killing people. God has a way. And his way yesterday was the U.S. Marshals that thumped on his fat ass all the way back to Oklahoma.
They are charged, but because of the public interest in this case, we have decided to name Grice. Coming up on KSN News at 5, details from the arrest affidavit and what it says Grice admitted to in the deaths of Jillian and Veronica.
And I tell you what, old Brian Enton, I don't think he's ever going to get over this case. I mean, ever. By the way, I'm still raising money to get him an Oklahoma Sooners hoodie when I meet him at CremCon next week. You better believe it. Because, he was bitching about how he couldn't bring his hoodie into the courthouse. God, I live by God's grace and God's laws. You don't know the 10 Commandments? I bet News Daddy knows them. He's about to lose his mind on this.
News in the case of the 2 Kansas moms, Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelley, who were murdered while on their way to pick up Butler's 2 kids in a custody visit that turned deadly. We've been covering this one for weeks. Veronica had been in this nasty...
Hang on, I need this meme. Thank you, Tana. Tana said she marked herself safe from scammers, misfits, and sovereign sperm. Okay, y'all, I need this meme with a quickness. I'm going to screenshot that. Okay, that deserves a big old ha-ha and a round of applause. That is beyond perfect. I'm going to leave that right there underneath News Daddy. He's been marked safe too. Look at that right under News Daddy. He's marked safe from scammers, misfits, and sovereign sperm. Don't put that sovereign sperm anywhere near News Daddy. He just got his teeth whitened.
custody battle with the paternal grandmother of her children, Tiffany Adams, who was arrested on April 13th, along with 3 others. The group, known to call themselves as God's Misfits. Well, today, a 5th suspect in connection with the murders, this man you see right here, was also now arrested. 31-year-old, he's a father of 3. Paul Grice is his name. And we're told that he confessed to police yesterday that he was involved in the planning, the killing, and the burying of the moms. Also, I have some exclusive new information on how the women were murdered. I want to bring in News Nation national security contributor, retired FBI special agent, Tracy Wilder. Tracy, it's always...
Okay, my heart skipped a beat. Shit. This is what happens when I don't go through things before. The minute when he said retired, I was like, damn it, if it's Jennifer Coffindaffer, she needs some sovereign sperm.
It's good to see you. First thing I want to ask you, I thought it was interesting with Paul Grice, the 5th arrest now. Police are saying that he also confessed, that they went out and interviewed him yesterday, and that he confessed to his involvement. Grandma Tiffany apparently also confessed. Why do you think they're all confessing? I mean, a lot of times you'd think they'd just stay silent.
So that's a great question, Brian. It's good to see you. I think a lot of this really goes back to that God's Misfit affiliation, and that has to do with being sovereign citizens. And they feel that what they did needed to be done and was necessary because they don't trust the government. They don't believe in the government. Therefore, they needed to intervene. I'm not saying that's right, but I think that's where.
Okay, side note. I don't 100% trust the government, okay? I do trust when I get a bill from the IRS, they mean business. I do trust that if someone's breaking into my house and I dial 911, I trust their asses are going to be here. Hell, I had a deputy that was going to help me find OJ a couple weeks ago. I do trust if I see flashing lights in my rearview mirror, I do trust I need to pull my crusty white ass over. I do. I trust that. I trust the government enough to know that I like to keep them away from me as far as possible. Okay? These people have taken it to a totally different level. Could you all imagine if I said, hey, me and OJ are going to go live out in the shed because we're going to be sovereign shed citizens and we're just going to live off the land. OJ would actually be fine. He'd be down with it. No. These people are fucking freaks, man. You don't like the government that you live under? Move to another country. Move along. See how it works out for you in another country. Go on.
Their minds at in regards to these confessions.
The other new information we're able to confirm now, Tracy, is that the 2 victims were not shot. We don't know the exact cause of death or how they died, but we did confirm through the medical examiner that they were not shot. What do you make of that? Because when I first heard that, it just...
And I don't know why people keep coming to me about pew, 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 that they were pew-pewed. I've got 2 words for you. They're not saying yet what exactly happened to them. 2 words. Broken hammer. Say it with me, my friends. We have 2 words of the day. Broken hammer. Take your, make a fist. Beat on your head with it. Don't hurt yourself. That is some pretty tough bone up there. Broken hammer.
I don't know. My heart went out to, I'm just thinking, I think it might have been a very, very brutal killing. You're kind of hoping if they were shot, it was quick and painless.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And that was something that I talked about with Dan Abrams a week or 2 ago, kind of really discussing why it took so long, quite frankly, to identify their bodies. And I want to be sensitive about this, but There's rumors, I don't know if it's true or not, that there was a broken hammer at the scene. And if that is the case, then it sounds perhaps they were bludgeoned to death. And that takes time to really figure out identifications with dental records. And so that's what I felt all along, is that they were not shot.
Old News Daddy is acting like it'd be better if they were just shot. Anyhow, broken hammer. All right. Now I want to know. Actually, I don't. I really don't want to know how all this went down. How did they get the pew pew from Jillian? Because she was locked and loaded. They had plans to throw an anvil through their windshield to make it look like an accident. Because, anvils just fly around all the time. I went to the store the other day and I was dodging anvils like a motherfucker. You should have seen me. It was like a game of Frogger. Just anvils everywhere, flying off of trucks. You've got to be kidding me. They had plans to unalive Veronica back in February. Well, that didn't work out. Broken hammer.
They were beaten in some way, which is absolutely horrific.
Yeah, and we've also reported that there were large puddles of blood at the scene where the car was discovered, and that there was also blood inside the car. So it's looking more and more like it was really just a brutal, brutal murder. I want to take you inside the mind of this new suspect, though, Paul Grice. And you mentioned God's Misfits, this anti-government religious cult group they were a part of. We managed to get our hands on a land record that Paul filed last summer. This was a public document, and I want to read you part of it, Tracy, because it gives you an idea of what he thought and believed and what kind of person he was. It says, "I repudiate and revoke my citizenship, if any ever existed, with the legal fiction known as the United States government. I claim my children as my God-given property and subject to none other. Government did not create my children and therefore does not control my children. God created my children in their mother's womb with my sperm and are my creation, my property, and I waive none of my God-given rights or duties in the upbringing of my offspring." So this is...
What a freak, man. Nobody's asking you to waive your God-given rights, okay? If you don't want your kids to go to public school, then don't. Homeschool them, you moron. Spend all day teaching them how to break hammers and how anvils fly into the air. I don't know. If that's what you want to do, you got to pay taxes. So exactly what God-given right did he believe in his goofy ass mind he was being denied? Makes zero sense to me.
Something that this fifth suspect filed as part of a land record, but I guess this just goes back to the God's Misfits group. It kind of shows you what these folks were believing.
Right. And so what really the key where there's that legal fiction, that's how they view society. It exists not in real life. It is just simply a construct that was made by someone that they don't have to answer to. And that's really kind of what the sovereign citizens are about too, although I know it's kind of two separate groups that we're looking at here. And as a result, they have a tendency to take the law into their own hands. And I think in this case, they believed every step of the way that the legal system was taking these kids from them, and they needed to get these kids back because those kids were their property.
I was snooping around through several of their Facebook profiles, which, by the way, are very open and out there. If you remember the summer when George Floyd lost his life, putting it mildly, and all the anarchists around the country that were going against the police, people, Spotify, I think, until Taylor Swift this week, F the police was breaking records, These people had a huge problem with what they were doing. Burning down police precincts, beating up on police. They had a huge problem with it. I have a huge problem with it. But now they think because they're in the panhandle of Oklahoma, they're untouchable. And you want to talk about government? Let's look at a little bit of what Tiffany was involved in. She was the head of the GOP in Texas County. You name the political cause, she was in it. And these people looked at her like she was the law, not just above it, but if they are with her, then nothing can happen to them. She said, our area appears to be drying up, and I believe that we need to maintain as many choices as we can. This is the United States of America, and it's all about choices. And I am all about giving choices to the kids and parents in our area. Your borough has a better grade card. They are a smaller district with very family-like feeling. So she's writing all this about things she doesn't want in the school. I'm not going to lie. I agree with the things she didn't want in the school, okay? She is president of the Keys School District. All right? Well, she was. Where does she think the school district gets their sweet moolah? You friggin' hypocrites. Gotta be kidding me.
And belong to them in this sort of world simulation.
Wow, just disturbing. You saw the 5 suspects now. There's now 5 suspects. I mentioned that Grandma Tiffany confessed early on in a recorded statement. Do you think that she's the mastermind from what we know behind this whole thing. Do you think she's trying to work a deal behind the scenes? Because the death penalty could be on the table to avoid the death penalty. Is she the reason that they figured out that Paul Grice had enough involvement to be arrested? You think she's talking to them right now behind the scenes?
Yes and no. So you have to remember, this is a group that doesn't like the government. So I actually am thinking that they're not being compliant with the government, quite frankly, because they don't trust them, they don't believe in them, and they don't think they have any power over them. So I would be, and I could be surprised, right, that she's just rolling over and admitting everything and turning suspects over. I think this came from the 16-year-old daughter, and they were trying to track him down. And my guess is it was difficult to track him down, and that's why this took a bit longer. But I'm not sure that any of them are flipping on each other yet, simply because of their mistrust of the government and the legal system.
Yeah, and I was out there, Tracy, talking.
All right, as goofy as they are. Oh, News Daddy has his O-face on. Jules is going to screenshot that. Does anyone think the way that they sort of boisterously said to the government authorities what they did, do you think it was kind of an F you? We don't answer to you. They told him, yeah. And this is why. Great comment on the last show about the Panhandle situation. Someone said, well, if they really thought that the children were being SA'd, why didn't they go after the person they thought was SAing the children as opposed to the mother and the woman that was just doing a good deed for the day? I didn't buy the SA story. Just something about it didn't smell right to me. If a child has those type of details, someone's getting arrested.
Talking to a number of people, everybody knows everybody out there, and heard the same thing over and over again when it came to Grandma Tiffany and her boyfriend Tad, that people were intimidated by them, got a bad vibe many times. But in terms of Paul Grice, the 5th suspect, we heard a lot of really nice things, that he was a family man, that he was a hard worker, that they didn't really think he was involved. So the community seems to be really, really shocked by this, Tracy.
mean, look, it's hard to sometimes know what someone's doing behind closed doors, right? And if this is someone that did share that core ideology, he may not have been an aggressive person. He may not have been a violent person. But when it comes to children, and again, he stated in that statement, they are his property and his property alone. They will do violent things.
Any chance you think that there could be more suspects involved? Because they've
In
said it's
my
an open
opinion,
investigation, so.
in my opinion, no, I don't know that there's going to be any suspects directly involved in the murders themselves, but there may be other kind of co-conspirators that may come out as a result of this. But I think the main murder suspects, those who participated in the deaths, are in custody now.
Hey, thank you for watching.
Okay, so she's saying she doesn't think there's going to be any more arrests. I think, considering, and this is just my uneducated opinion, how well connected they all are, I believe other people know. Other people were aware. I don't think they're going to stop with just these 5. But good news, the leader of God's Misfits put our hearts at ease when he said they disavow what they did. This is not what they teach. Of course, it's got a question mark. We know who the 5th person is now, who we've been talking about for the last few weeks, Paul. And he's basically saying, look, we don't get down like that.
Founder and creator of God's Misfits. It's a group that says it is for people who, quote, feel out of place in a church. The leader is a preacher who goes by the name of Squirrel, and he is kind enough to join me now. I know the Squirrel name is a name that you got in 9th grade. It's adorable, but it's how you are addressed, so I will use it as well. Thank you for being here. Your reaction to hearing that 4 people were arrested in a horrific double murder who police say are members of God's Misfits, and police describe that group as...
Okay, before Beigeville ruins the interview, he looks a tad bit Amish to me. Maybe that's just me. I don't run cults. You know, I gave that up back in the 80s. I don't do cults. Yeah. This is a scary looking dude.
as an anti-government and religious group. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts is his God is not my God. He's serving a different God, because the God that I serve condemns such hate and such actions. So I don't know what God he's serving. He's serving himself. He's serving Satan. He's definitely not serving the God I serve. And my heart goes out.
Yeah, I mean, it is such a sad, sad story, honestly. Had you ever heard of these 4 defendants? And I'll read their names again: Tiffany Adams, Tad Cullum, Cora Twombly, and Cole Twombly. And then I'll throw in Paul Grice for good measure, because the police say all 5 of them were part of a group called God's Misfits.
I have never heard of them or ever seen the picture of them. I've never been to Oklahoma, or I have no relation with them at all.
And
okay, Squirrel, then how come they're following your, in quotes, theology that you promote? This is basically his thinking. This is his, you know, we live by God's laws, not by the government's laws. Well, Squirrel, your followers figured this one out. This is actually a good time to use the word follower. I hate that. I hate words like follower, subs. Okay, these people are subs and followers, okay? How did they come across you? We did see a snippet of what God's misfits talk about. We call them the devil's rejects around here. I didn't see Squirrel on there, but it seems like they're taking their stuff down left and right, or YouTube's doing it for them.
You, as I understand it, God's Misfits, your group, is basically an online ministry. And correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but it's just you and your wife who post videos online, and that you have like 284 followers on your Facebook page. But these people are not part of that?
If they are, I don't know of it, but no, God's Misfits. I used to have God and Bikers website.
This is why people should have a license to use the internet. I'm sorry to say it. Obviously, we know we would still stick together. Followers on a Facebook page, you're not going to know unless they comment. Oh, I don't know. I was doing Gods and Bikers, and then I went to God's Misfits. 284 followers. Not what I would call a real well-oiled machine you have there, Amish Misfit. This is one of those people that has been thrown out of every church he tried to go to. And I'd love to take a gander at his wife. I can already picture her in my head.
And then when I hurt my back and everything that happened, and I got the name God's Misfits. Out of James chapter 4, verses 4 through 5, that friendship with the world is being an enemy with God. So that means that when you come to God, you actually become a misfit of the world. And being a misfit of the world means you no longer do the hate that the world does. You've got to love like the Father does. You no longer hold grudges like the world does. You got to forgive like the Lord does. And when the Holy Spirit comes and lives in a person's heart and changes them from the inside out, it becomes so much easier. But
Sir,
I didn't
it
know
sounds to
them.
me, it sounds to me like your ministry is strictly about religion. Is there any part of your ministry or your members that is anti-government?
Nope. It's just me and my wife. No, we're not anti-government at all.
It's just me and my wife. We're not anti-government at all. Beigefield's about to have a coronary, okay? She looks like she's been hit with an anvil. She doesn't even know how to get through this interview. I'm telling you what, we had an issue on the show, the other day. I called it the Joel Osteen Hour. I got mad at a couple of people. They came to me, both of them, and they were like, do you have a problem with new Christians? I flat out said, yeah, I do. I'm glad you came to the Lord. But newly sober people and people that just discovered the Bible are always the damn experts, and they don't know what they're freaking talking about. It's like, just shut up and learn. Learn. Listening is essential.
We both. I have three ways. I can pray, I can fast, and I can vote. The scripture says, if you look in Romans, I think scripture says that God puts in office who he wants in office, and he brings out of office who he doesn't want in office. So even though it doesn't always make me happy, I have to go with that God's word is true, no matter what. So we pray for our president, we pray for our country, we pray for our veterans. No, I'm not anti-government at all.
We'll get back to praying, squirrel, because I'm sick of paying so much for beef and chicken. Hell you doing? Get back to praying.
I love our country. I'm not real happy about things that are going on right now, but that's all around the world. So there's not another planet to live on as far as I'm concerned.
you know, I'm imagining that this is such a high profile case, and there is such keen interest all around the country, dare say the world, about what happened on that lonely stretch of road where those two poor victims were murdered. Um, when God's misfits came up in the affidavits, did you find yourself all of a sudden deluged with people who wanted to share a piece of their mind?
Hang on, what was that word? The hell? You know, I don't know. Did they get thesauruses for Christmas at News Nation? Because Beishfield has been coming up with a lot of different new words.
Where those two poor victims were murdered.
I'm glad that she gets Lonely Highway because she wasn't getting it for quite a while. She was not getting it. She was like, well, I'm sure they're going to have cameras and I'm sure they're going to get cell phone pings. And I was like, do what? We were talking about the case of Noah yesterday. I'm like, so we have yet another rural community where you're not going to have any digitals. So she's got that part down. What is this new word? Damn, I don't want to change the word of the day because right now we have two words of the day: broken hammer.
When God's misfits came up in the affidavits, did you find yourself all of a sudden deluged with people?
Do you think this fool knows what deluged means? Deluged?
People who wanted to share a piece of their mind?
Well, I don't have cable. All I have is antenna, and I only.
Well, there's your answer. Squirrel doesn't even have Wi-Fi. He doesn't have cable TV. He's got an antenna. He just watches local stations. So he's not going to help you on what deluged means. He just watches the antenna.
Watch the local weather and news, and I never heard anything about what's going on in Oklahoma. So all I know is my wife has got a condition and she needs a medication that she's been on for 20 plus years, and the health insurance company that she's been getting it from won't give it to her. So we're dealing with that. And then I had to take her to the doctor and I had to take her to the chiropractor. All of this has come up. And then next thing you know, I'm sitting out in the parking lot of the chiropractor's office looking on my phone while she's in getting adjustments and stuff because her condition has gotten worse. So anyway, and then I find all these people that are attacking me from the website and from Facebook page and stuff. And I had to do a Google search to find out what they're talking about. I thought I had no clue. And then when I did that search, and I made that video is try to respond to them the best way I could.
God. Woo. His wife probably goes to one of those chiropractors that adjusts through the vag. You know, I'm out there, I ought to do a Google search. She's been on this medication for 20 years. I just watch antenna channels. I don't know what's going on. She's in there getting adjusted. Yeah, I bet. I bet she is. And that's the reason you're sitting in the parking lot. It's probably a very private adjustment. I wouldn't want to sniff your beard. Good God, help me.
And
Well, it's entirely possible, sir, that
like that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's entirely possible that it's a coincidence, right? They might have just chosen that name for their small group, and maybe it's a larger group. I don't know. Right now, we know of 5 members, according to the officers who put out the affidavit. But sounds like you got swept up in this pretty unfairly. I'm very thankful that you came on the program tonight, and I appreciate you setting the record straight about your group, God's Misfits Online, versus whatever their group might be. Thank you so much for doing this tonight. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. And I hope you have a good night.
I appreciate it more than you know. Thank you, Squirrel. And thank you, Joy Callie, for gifting 5 Crime Lines and Lies memberships. Here comes the music.
Raining man, hallelujah, it's raining man. Amen. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna.
I see a few people are getting upset with someone named Robin Brown, and I'm not seeing her comment. Am I left out of the convo? What's going on? What did Robin Brown say? Is she upset? Robin Brown, what's wrong? I don't see any of your comments or anything. Do you have me blocked to where I can't see your comments? It's happened before. She said there's some ugly people in here. Oh. Well, I don't have my makeup on yet, and I do have a spider bite under my eye, so if you're talking about me, fair enough. I do look like the Elephant Man right now, but it is healing. It's a little itchy right now. That's not nice, Robin. We were talking about God's misfits. Are you one of God's misfits? Is that the reason you're acting that way? To the left, to the left. Tiff said, probably about me because I said I need some box wine. Don't we all? Sounds like you're projecting, Robin. They have Groupons for lip fillers and stuff, so maybe you ought to work on that. Okay, back to what we're talking about, which is 10 times more important than Robin thinking we're ugly. God's misfits. Panhandle Granny. At one time, they had a plan to target the judge. Well, Tiffany Adams. All right, here she is. Here's Panhandle Granny. She don't look too happy there. Here she is with her boyfriend. She calls his unit Ron, okay? And when they would have sovereign sex, she would say, bring me the Ronster monster. Woo! Take a gulp of that. So she nicknamed his unit Ron, and when it was time to have sovereign sex, bring me the Ronster monster. That was some good sovereign sex, because look what she talked him into. Let's go.
In Oklahoma, Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelley. According to new court documents, one of the 4 suspects in custody, Grandma Tiffany, she's the grandma of the kids, she's caught in a bitter custody dispute. We've talked about it. Well, she gave a recorded statement to investigators after her arrest saying she was responsible for the murders. Talk about a bombshell. Prosecutors also say that court docs show Grandma Tiffany and her co-conspirators had their eye on the judge as their next target. Here to help us break it all down, what this could mean for the suspects, we've got former FBI agent and News Nation Online Justice contributor, my friend Jennifer Coffendoffer, and back with me again, attorney Misty Maris. All right, thank you both for being here. Jennifer, first of all, by the way, I found out over the weekend from Jennifer, she's actually from this part of the country. So she has a very, very...
Hang on. Who's from this part of the country? I don't need this shit today. Is Jennifer Coffendaffer pulling a Lisa K. Ruetz, pretending like she's from the Panhandle now? And Robin Brown, we're not talking about a church. They are not a church. God's Misfits is not a church. We saw all boys sitting in the chiropractor parking lot. He's got 284 people on his Facebook page. Now I've got to hear this real quick. I would turn it off, but who's from what part of the country?
Responsible for the murders. Talk about a bombshell. Prosecutors also say that court docs show Grandma Tiffany and her co-conspirators had their eye on the judge as their next target. Here to help us break it all down, what this could mean for the suspects, we've got former FBI agent and News Nation Law and Justice contributor, my friend Jennifer Coffendorfer, and back with me again, attorney Misty Maris. All right. Thank you both for being here, Jennifer. First of all, by the way, I found that over the weekend from Jennifer. She's actually from this part of the country.
What? What? Hang on. Hang on. The biggest little city in the Panhandle is Guyman, Oklahoma. Jennifer Coffendorfer lives in Dallas. Okay, maybe she grew up in Kansas. I don't know. I'm not writing a biography on her. What? I'm all in. I'm all in, guys. I'm all in.
So she has a very, very intimate knowledge of this area. What did you make?
She's the one that was talking about digital forensics. If she knows so much about it, then why would she even talk about digital forensics?
Take Jennifer of Grandma Tiffany's confession. Did you see that coming?
I kind of did, and let me tell you why I say this.
Oh, shit.
Usually the people that seem just the most evil and the people that are in charge of kind of putting the whole scheme together, they're often the ones that actually go ahead and confess. Why? I think it's because they know this day is coming. Listen, she seems pretty dumb in how this was all planned out and all the clues that were left that led to her. But Brian, she knew she was going to get caught, and I think she knew that when she got caught, she was going to confess.
I want to read you, Misty, the part of this this new court document where it basically talks about the confession. It says that she did provide a recorded statement to law enforcement indicating her responsibility for the death of the deceased. So indicating her responsibility for the death of the deceased. I had to read that like 3 times this weekend. I mean, should we read into that, Misty? Like, they didn't just say she confessed. Like, what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, well, it seems to say that she took responsibility. Now, without the details, we don't know exactly what she said in that confession. But there's a couple of things in the document that I think are worth pointing out. Number one, they said that she confessed in a recorded custodial interview. That means she was in custody at the time. So is this the first step in what we see in these cases where there's co-conspirators turning on each other? She's the one who's going to confess, maybe in exchange for some form of leniency down the line. Or when her defense attorney is assigned to this case, do they start to challenge whether or not that confession will ever hear the light of day in a courtroom and say that perhaps there were rights that were violated or that it's not admissible ultimately in court? That happens all the time. So I think before we know exactly what the meat is, it's hard to say.
Listen, confessions are recanted all the time. How many cases have we had where they don't use the confession for whatever reason or another? Whatever they spilled to the OSBI and the FBI, not really concerned. What I'm concerned about is the eyewitness testimony of Cora and Cole's daughter, broken hammer, blood all around the car. They had a plan in February. I think we have a lot. I don't even think they needed to confess. Thank you for the super sticker, Suds. Robin Brown said, use common sense, people. You can't hold someone responsible for what someone don't know does. Everyone misses the point. I'm in a good mood today, Robin, so I'm going to go ahead and drop the link and you can come up and explain. I think there's something you're missing because These anti-government people that latched on to this God's misfit ideology, they are charged with double murder. They are charged with conspiracy. They are charged with kidnapping. I could give a rat's ass about their church. I don't care if they're Methodist, Presbyterian, Mormon, Muslim. I don't give a shit. They are charged with double murder.
Hey, what's in that recorded statement and what the impact is going to be as the case proceeds.
And every time I see these pictures of Grandma Tiffany, I think back to just seeing her in court last week. I was in Oklahoma. I was sitting like 4 feet from the woman because it's such a small courtroom. And she looks so much different now. I mean, these are really flattering photos. She's much more hardened. Jennifer, what did you make of the fact that she apparently said she knew the way the judge walked home? I mean, what does that mean?
Certainly very concerning, because it makes it clear really that they had an alternative plan. If this plan didn't go forth, I think the judge could have been next on that hit list.
So Misty, back to the confession, Grandma Tiffany has technically pled not guilty at this point, but now we learn about this confession on a recorded interview with police. Why plead not guilty and then at the same time be confessing? How does that make sense?
Well, she pled not guilty. She probably hasn't had time to really get down with her lawyer and talk about what the next steps and implications of that confession are. As I said, the confession is going to be reviewed by the attorney, and there'll be a game plan developed, whether or not they're going to try and challenge it or whether or not they're going to use it as some sort of leverage to gain some favor with prosecutors. So it's really a little bit too soon to tell exactly what that means as far as how it's going to impact everything else. But there's one thing I do know, Brian. Whenever there's co-conspirators, at some point, usually they turn on each other. So is she the one to turn? I did not see that coming. I actually love Jennifer's perspective. I always thought it would be someone who had a less direct motive in the case who might come forward in this group, but seems like she's the first one to tell the story.
What do you think, Jennifer? I mean, do you think she could be turning on the others?
Don't ask her. Her ass doesn't know. I do think it's really odd that Cole and Cora aren't taking up for each other. I would think that the married couple would really be going against Tiffany Adams, Panhandle Granny. I don't even like to call her Tiffany because one of my best friends is named Tiffany. She's in chat right now. It is shocking that the married couple isn't spilling their guts on how they got involved in this. Because I don't believe all 5 of them are involved with the broken hammer. Okay? I don't. I believe Cole and Cora headed them off, and then they met up with Panhandle Granny, Ronster Monster, and Paul Grime, and I think that's where it went down. Just from what little bit we get from the probable cause, and that probable cause is a lot. I mean, it's a lot. Sad fact of the matter is, probable cause is the weakest evidence. It's just enough to get him some silver bracelets.
How do you think that'll play? I mean, Tad is, of course, her boyfriend, but could she, be looking out for herself at this point?
Well, what I think, Brian, is based on how well planned out this was, the cell phones and all of the deliberate planning and how they were able to plan this out. She planned this part also, this confession. And I agree with Misty, it's for a reason. We're going to find it out. I like the idea of possibly trying to gain favor. The problem is, though, she's the head. She's the head of the snake. She's the reason this all happened. So I don't know if it'll backfire. Remember, Oklahoma is a death penalty state.
Yeah, it is. And that's already come up at one of the hearings already that they've brought that up. Misty, what do you think will happen? I mean, do you think this is a death penalty case? Do you think the prosecution will go after it?
It definitely could be a death penalty case.
I'll answer that for you. No, I don't need that chick. I don't need Jennifer Coffindaffer and that chick with bad blush on telling me. 2 words: broken hammer. The intent is all over the place. I can smell it from here, and I'm 5 hours from the Panhandle. I can smell it from here. They had a plan, and they executed it. Panhandle Granny, she's definitely in charge of all this. She has got her hands in everything in that county you can imagine. The school board, the hospital, the police union. She's not a policeman, but she's involved in everything. She's the head of the GOP. She's the head of the farmers and ranchers. Go figure. There is a ton of farmers and ranchers out there. And she had these people. I guarantee there's been other dastardly deeds done over the years. This isn't their first rodeo. She has had people do her dirty work for years just to get her way. That's why so many people are like, don't use my name, but this is what I know. Because if old Panhandle Granny gets out, I don't want an anvil flying through my windshield. Please. All right, Nancy Grace weighed in on this the other day. We're not going to watch the whole thing because I know a lot of people are like, look, I've had enough of Nancy Grace this week. But she had a lot that has come out in this show that she did.
Women are dead, 6 children between them. And I don't care what anybody says, including a shrink that will tell me how wrong I am. There is nothing that can replace your mother. Nothing.
Amen. Amen.
And it may be a far-fetched plan. It may be. But these ladies are dead. Not just the young mom who is her right there, just going to throw a birthday party for her children. That's Veronica Butler, just 27 years old. But then you've got the other lady.
Okay. I am not victim shaming in any way, but the back and forth, tick for tack between Wrangler and his mama and Veronica was definitely lighter fluid on this bitter custody battle. A lot of people want to know, is Wrangler involved? I don't think so at all. Just my uneducated opinion, because Wrangler was scared of his mother himself. You know, Panhandle Granny pulled a gun on him. The first attempt to unalive Veronica, he was in jail, and his mama's got plenty of money to get him out, but she wasn't doing it because she had what she wanted. She has the kids. When the unaliving happened on March 30th, he was in rehab. Now then, let's have a discussion. We're going to continue, going through this, but I'm going to drop the link because I want to know what you think. Do you think that when Wrangler gets out of the rehab, obviously Mama's house is unoccupied, and that's where he's going to go, mark my words. He's going to take over that farm. Will he get custody of his children? Right now, they are with Veronica's dad. They've already been through one bitter custody battle, and we know how that ended. Will Wrangler get his children back? He is not part of the murder. He is not part of the conspiracy. He is not part of the kidnapping. He is their father. And we've gone through a lot of the custody documents, and basically everything that was said about him, Veronica even admitted she made it up. The child forensic psychologist that spoke to their son, he said he was told by his mother to say those things. It's not what we hope. It's what do we think will happen. Let's talk about this.
Lady, the church secretary, preacher wife, she's dead too. Jillian Kelley, in her 30s, the prime of her life, she was just doing a ride along to facilitate the visitation and the pickup of mom's babies. 6 children without a mom. So I don't care how zany their plot is. There were pools of blood left around this young mom's car because, in my mind, of killer granny. May she rot in hell. And let me point out, as Kelly Hyman will tell me pretty quickly, they're innocent until proven guilty. And you can all quit telling me that on Twitter. I know that. I know they're not guilty yet, but I guarantee you they will be because of a track a mile wide. Isn't that right, Lauren Conlon? A mile wide. Tell me about the evidence we're learning out of this warrant right here.
Okay, so this is crazy. So first and foremost, they got a search warrant on, I believe it was March 31st for Tiffany Adams's phone. So they searched through her phone and they find searches that read taser pain level, where to buy a gun at different gun shops in the area, and then where to get prepaid cell phones, and then how to get someone out of their house. Now, in the meantime, her boyfriend.
Stop. You know what? You're just like spouting all this damning information like it's a fire hydrant, Lauren Conlon. Too much, too fast. Okay, I'm drinking from the fire hydrant here. You said look up the pain level of a taser. That was the mother-in-law's, let's just say, Google search. She searched the pain level of a taser.
She did. She searched pain level.
Okay, I got to go now to an eminent guest joining me, Dr. Kendall Crowns. He is the chief medical examiner in Tarrant County. That's Fort Worth, near Dallas. Lecturer, University of Texas Christian University Medical School. And he is joining us right now from his office at the Medical Examiners. Dr. Crowns, thank you for being with us. I had a good friend at CNN who actually tasered himself, and a good friend at Court TV that followed up on it to make sure it really hurt. God rest his soul, Michael Christian. So, Dr. Kendall Crowns, tell me how a taser works. And this is what was the plan. This is the plan to use on 2 unarmed moms. A taser. How does it work and how bad?
Okay, actually, they weren't unarmed because Jillian had a pew-pew with her. Yes, she did. Snooks, Okie proud, Okie strong. Thank you so much for the super sticker, my friend. Thank you, thank you. What I want to know, why was just the clip left? Where did the pew-pew go? Poor Nancy's making her O face on the screen. Looks like her guest is too. You couldn't pay me enough to tase myself. We still have not heard if the tasers were even used, but I have a feeling they were.
Badly does it hurt, Dr. Crowns?
So conductive electronic devices like taser work by injecting prongs into your skin and then using these skins moisture to conduct electricity across it and then send a large amount of electricity into your body, basically shocking you. The shock itself causes a tremendous amount of pain, causes you to spasm and then collapse.
See, that's why I have to work with you so much before I could put you on the stand. Conductive electronic device. What are you talking about? Can you dummy down for me, please? And just saying, regular people talk, how a taser works and the amount of pain. What can we compare it to?
Conductive electronic devices is what a taser is. Taser themselves prefer you call it a conductive electronic device because not all conductive electronic devices are tasers. It's like a Xerox machine is a copier, etc. So it is basically electricity being forced into your body, high amounts of electricity. It'd be like you putting a fork into a wall socket. You get the same kind of experience from that, except the wall socket doesn't cause as much electricity to go through you as a taser does.
As a general rule,
I love that Nancy said, in regular people talk. Snooks, you and me both. The minute I heard about this case, the first show, I said, listen, there's not just a few wild hogs out there. There's not just a few pig farms. There's not just a few processing plants. There's many. Good luck finding them. Turns out we didn't have to worry about the wild hogs and the processing plants, though, Snooks. It was the broken hammer. Could you just imagine what it would take to break a damn hammer? For the life of me, I could not imagine.
rule, a taser start with a baseline of 50,000 volts of electricity. 50,000 volts of electricity. What does that mean, Dr. Kendall Crowns?
That's the high amount of electricity. It's higher than basically your standard current in your house. So it's a large amount of electricity being put into your body all at once.
Just think about it. Think about it, Cheryl McCollum. This evil mother-in-law was prepared to use 50,000 volts of electricity minimum on the victims in this case, 2 unarmed women. She didn't care if she caused that amount of pain. And Cheryl, think about it. Forget the taser. They were gunned down. I think they were shot dead.
But let's talk even more basic in the beginning. You've got 4 people, 10 and 2 women. It doesn't take a taser to control them. If you ambush 2 unsuspecting victims with 4 people, you're going to be able to control them fairly easily. I believe that the stun gun was for torture.
Wow, I hadn't even thought of that. Joining me right now, Kelly Hyman, trial lawyer and now civil lawyer, joining us out of Miami, also legal analyst and host of Once Upon a Crime in Hollywood. Kelly Hyman, I mean, this gang, which they call themselves God's Misfits, have left a trail a mile wide. The state's going to have a field day with this.
This is a horrible story for these young kids to lose their mother. And we always, when we look at things, is why do people do this? What was their motive behind this? What was
That's what really pisses me off about the whole thing. I mean, the whole thing. God's misfits aside, all right? Anti-government aside, whatever was going on in their goofy brains. I'm sure we have a few divorced people in here. I'm sure we have a few people who have grandchildren and their children are divorced from their son-in-law, daughter-in-law. How bad do you have to hate the ex? How bad do you have to hate this person that you would hurt the children that badly? We have 6 children without parents, without their mothers. Veronica has 2 children. Jillian has 4. On top of that, Cora and Cole, the 16-year-old hero, in my opinion, her parents are in jail. Pudgy Paul, he's probably going to Big Mac. He's going to get it. He's going to get the DP. 3 children. How bad do you have to hate the ex? Someone that you loved, that you would destroy the children's lives. I don't understand that at all. Jeremy Wood, thank you. He said, I've worked out in this area for months, overseeing these huge ponds being dug on these pig farms. I honestly thought they had buried these women at one of these sites. You and me both, Jeremy. I really thought that's what they were going to be coming across. But hey, I've been wrong before.
Was their reasoning behind this? That's, key. And allegedly they were in some big family dispute, bitter dispute, that left these beautiful kids without a mother. Ultimately, Nancy, as you said, you are innocent until proven guilty. But there is allegedly a lot of evidence coming out that's going to make a strong case for the state.
I need to bring up the innocent till proven guilty part. What more do we know, guys? Straight out to Lauren Conlon. Guns, bulldozers, tasers, stun guns. What more do we know, Lauren? And all of this is to take out 2 innocent, unarmed mothers?
Yes, let me stop you. There have been no guns found, just stun guns. So this is actually really interesting. And I'm a bit confused. I came across, I think it was yesterday or the day before, it was on an outlet called the Oklahoman, and you have to pay for a lot of these articles. I did not pay, but I did find a little snippet where the medical examiner said, I don't believe they were shot. And I'm going through all of these affidavits, the arrest affidavits, all the probable.
Okay, stun guns are different than tasers. Okay? They are. I don't know why people are so focused on guns that don't exist. Do they have guns? I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. That's not what they used. Again, broken hammer. A lot of people are asking about the bulldozer, the bulldozer, the bulldozer. I don't know where that fits in. But we do know that they were concealing their bodies under hay, hoping that the cattle, which would be, this would be a good time of year for it, would stomp them.
Plan, according to the documents, was to drop it right through the windshield, right through Veronica. And their plan, according to the documents, was to drop it right through the windshield, right through Veronica's windshield, and kill her that way. So we learned all of that over the weekend, which shows why people were so nervous. They knew what these 4 suspects were capable of.
All of these allegations until they're proven in court. But I do go back to this quote.
You know, I really wish people would get off that innocent until proven guilty dick. They're in jail. They are charged. They use the U.S. Marshals to run Paul back to Oklahoma. I get so sick of that. Look, you just can't go around pointing the finger at people, whether it's on the internet or in person, saying they did it, they did it, they did it, they did it. But we're talking about people that are in jail. They have been charged with 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, conspiracy, and there's going to be more. And they're going to dig up more people in that county. They damn sure are. But you can't tell me that probable cause affidavit is some sort of fairy tale. Not with all those agencies working on it.
Oh, they have a history of violent interactions, including death threats and intimidation against individuals who disagree with their ideas. They abide by their own philosophy and have no regard for the sanctity of human life. Those are not our words. They were the whisper words, and now they're the words of the DA against Tiffany and Tad. Okay, let's talk about this business of a confession. Everybody is saying confession, confession, but we're kind of toiling through those words, and I'm retooling whether I think it's a confession or not. There are recordings that the authorities got of Tiffany Adams shortly after her arrest, Brian, where she indicated that she was responsible for these deaths. So I want to get your read on that and your feel for whether you think that's a confession or whether you think it just might be she said.
I'll go back to this. Robin Brown said they need to look into the one son who mysteriously died. Yes. There is also somebody that was working on the ranch named Vern, and he mysteriously died. I think we're going to find out a lot more about the Devil's Rejects than we ever wanted to know. Because there are some mysterious deaths around these people that definitely need to be reopened and investigated.
Something so off base and was so dumb and didn't think it through that it was clear she was involved to them.
I mean, it sounds like a confession to me. Actually, I had to read it 3 times when it came in on Saturday because I'm like, wait, what does this say? It was a little confusing. I'll read it to you again. Tiffany Adams did provide a recorded statement to law enforcement indicating her responsibility for the deaths of the deceased. Certainly sounds like a confession. The first thing I thought of was, I mean, man, she doesn't even have an attorney yet because that was clear at the hearing, and she's already talking to police in a recorded statement. You know, Oklahoma is a death penalty state. Is it possible? I mean, she's slick. Is it possible that she's trying to outsmart the others and start talking immediately, get on investigators' good side, start cooperating? Maybe she avoids the death penalty and can cooperate. That's kind of the first thing I thought of.
Or she pulls the old, they did it and I got bullied or beaten into going along with it. I mean, there's all sorts of different permutations and combinations for how to be first to the well if there's 4 of you going, to trial for double murder in a death penalty state. So the other thing was that she did enter a not guilty plea. So that's in contravention to this whole notion that she admitted it to investigators. And then the other reporting that we have, which is not part of the affidavit, this is source reporting here at News Nation, and that is that she did not provide the accurate location of the gravesite. You've been there. You literally were there. It's not hard to miss. What do you make of the fact that she didn't provide accurate information to the gravesite, to the investigators?
I mean, is it possible she wasn't there? And back to the not guilty plea, I mean, I think that's almost like a formality. They all just entered not guilty pleas immediately. So I don't know that really means, well, then why did she confess and how do those 2 things relate to each other? I think she didn't have a lawyer yet and she just automatically entered the not guilty plea. In terms of where the bodies were discovered and whether she led them to the wrong spot or gave bad information, I don't really know what to make of it. What I've heard from the beginning is that it was the burner phone, cell phone pings that led police to that area and to start digging in that area. And if you live in that area, and I learned this talking to the ranchers out there, if you live out there, You know what the soil is supposed to look like. You know the color it's supposed to be. You know the consistency it's supposed to be. You know exactly the way it's supposed to feel under your feet. And they were able to figure out relatively quickly in that area that there had been some digging in that.
It's absolutely crazy. Not just in Oklahoma, but I mean, in other states, when they have agents that do nothing but study the dirt. Hell, I ought to get a job like that. I've been landscaping my ass off. I can tell you about sandy soil, firm soil, clay soil. I mean, what a boring ass job. But someone's got to do it, right? It's amazing what they can put together.
That spot. They tried to cover with the hay, which I know you're going to get
Well,
into later. But I think the cell
yeah,
phone
you're
pings
going to
are
show
what
us.
brought them
You're
there.
going to
Yeah.
show us. Definitely they did. So I keep coming back to, well, what did Tiffany say? Where did she send them? If she was giving information about where the bodies could be found, but it wasn't accurate, it doesn't make sense because they probably knew already from, I think Jamie Beasley is the landowner, right? He rented land, he leased land to Tad. And then Tad came to him and said, I'm going to do some digging down by the dam. No big thing. I'm just moving a tree stump. Well, it turned out that was not what they were doing. They were digging allegedly a 10-foot grave. And that's how, you know, the authorities know that not only was Tad there for that meeting prior to digging, but so was Tiffany. Tiffany, according to the authorities, was there for that meeting beforehand saying, I'm bringing a front end loader on, a skidder or whatever they call it, and we're going to dig and we're going to move some land and it's all good by you. Thanks. Okay, all good. Let's go. So Tiffany was there. She knew exactly what it was they were doing, according to the authorities. So if she sent them to a different location, I think they had her right there by the, you know, they had her tight because they already knew from Mr. Beasley that.
And that could explain how they got the
requested and
statement
started
that we've
digging.
been trying to figure out. You know, is it a confession? Is it not a confession? I guess that could relate back to that.
Could have. Can you just touch real quickly on the soil, because there was a detail. There was a detail on how they finished off the grave that would make it look normal. What was that detail involving the cows?
You're talking about the hay, right? Yeah. So what they did, according to the sources when we were in the area, is, and again, these are people who know how to dig, who know how to farm, who have equipment. That's why they were able to get 10 feet down, which is unheard of. And once they covered the area back up with all of the dirt, they knew to go get hay and spread hay over that entire area because there are cows that graze there. And they knew by spreading the hay there, the cows would move into that specific spot. They would start stomping around, they would start eating, and they would make it less noticeable that the soil had been disturbed there from all of the digging.
Thank you.
And that is truly messed up. Truly messed up. Now, a lot of people are asking about some suspicious deaths around this motley crew, or as we call them, the Devil's Rejects. All right, March 15th, 2020, Cole, who is also one of the suspects, I guess you want to call him. He is charged with double murder. He is charged with double kidnapping, conspiracy. 2020, he said, okay, breathe slowly and type slow. Been gone a couple of days as things got a little serious at my house. Clue 1. For anyone that doesn't know, while we were showing heifers at OYE, Vern was found dead in his pickup at the farm. No details right now. We just don't know. Autopsy and investigation pending. Don't need anything but love and prayers this time. We'll post more as we learn. His death is beyond suspicious. You can see right there on the screen, that's Vern. Born in 1994, he was 25 years old when he passed away. Thursday, March 12th, 2020, heaven gave wings to a very special angel, Vern Everett Twombly. Coming to this world may have been the fastest thing Vern did. He came rushing in this world at 1:24 p.m. on March 25th, 1994. His parents, Cole and Sheila Twombly, took Vern home to his sister Savannah to start his brand new adventure in Lamar, Colorado. As the wit and humor grew, so did the boy. Eventually, Vern spread laughter through every baseball team he played for. Vern would fight terrible with Frank, but nobody could look wrong at Frank or he'd whip him. That's his brother. He graduated from Boise City High School. Vern loved life. He loved shooting guns, going fishing, junk sales, cattle sales, sheep sales, goat sales, pig sales, and more junk sales. It didn't matter. Vern would find a bargain and have to show it off. But his greatest love in life came when he became an uncle to Vivian Ray Gonzalez. He may have even loved his new niece more than he loved Missy, his Australian shepherd. Shows who he's preceded in death by and everything. For whatever reason, this investigation was shut down fast. And I mean real fast. He was dead in his truck for 3 days. There is a lot of sinister things that have gone on around these people. Sylvie, she said it would be interesting to know what Sheila thinks about the death of her son and if Cole could be culpable. Sheila's been calling Cole out for years. I would love to talk to Sheila and tell me, what does she know about Cole and Cora? What happened when they split the sheets in Lamar, Colorado, and he went to the Panhandle? It's all suspicious. I mean, it's all suspicious. And I have a feeling Sheila Twombly has a lot to say about her time with Cole. Hello, little bit. Unleashed, thank you. His dog was also killed in his vehicle with him. So who killed the dog? And why does Cole act like it's not a big deal? Vern just got his wings? No. There's way more going on. And in the next show we do about what's been going on out in the Panhandle, I'm going to talk more about Vern. I mean, this whole situation is beyond disturbing. It's beyond suspicious. It's beyond depraved. Just Me said cause of death. That's still up in the air. Go figure. If that's not suspicious. Well, I know what's not suspicious, and that's the fact that you guys are always here for the right reasons. I know we say some silly things on this channel, even though we know we're talking about serious things. Hey, we have to keep our minds sharp. And if we're just sitting there going, oh, that's awful. Oh, that's awful. Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, that's awful. Prayers to the family. Oh, innocent till proven guilty. Oh my God, innocent till proven guilty. No. We speak as friends. We talk about the worst society has put on this planet. And have a pretty good time doing it. Well, you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. I will be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp Central Time. So set your cell phone alarms. I don't want to miss you guys. And, well, I hope you don't want to miss me. So you'll have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Mod Squad, as always, you always got it going on. You've always got it going on. Robin Brown said it's understandable if there's reasonable doubt that these people are guilty. men, sister. Thank you, Robin Brown. That's exactly right. And thank you to all of you. You guys rock. Tana, you had me shitting a brick laughing. That was hilarious. All right, you guys, again, have a great rest of your day, and you are the absolute best chat, best community, and best friends on these nasty YouTube streets.